It's okay to be nervous. We've all been where you are right now. What you're considering is not for the faint of heart. We know that. And if there are any doubts in your mind, I suggest you walk away right now. But I hope you don't. The only way to be eligible for this position is to have used the remedy yourself. And your story is exceptional. Allow me to read it back to you. It's tradition. You've been married twice. You married your first husband, Albert, when you were both just 21. Albert was a good man. He was kind, hardworking, and an excellent father. The two of you had 3 girls together before he drowned tragically during a fishing trip with friends. An unexpected storm hit, and Albert was thrown overboard, but the rest of the men survived. You and your daughters were devastated, and Albert's friends felt tremendous guilt. They didn't know what to do. His best friend, a man named George, whose boat they had all been on that fateful day, started coming to your house regularly to help you out however he could. He mowed the lawn, fixed the little things that needed fixing, drove the girls to soccer practice when you had to work late, and kept you company on the days that seemed like they would never end. He was your lighthouse, and through your shared grief, the two of you fell in love. A year after Albert's death, George gave you a ring. You walked to City Hall together late one summer afternoon and were married by the Justice of the Peace. Albert can rest easy knowing his best friend is taking care of all his girls, George said. Life was simple, but good. After the two of you were married, George took over all the finances, which was fine by you since you didn't like money to begin with. But soon you began to notice a change in George. He bought a new car and some nicer clothes. He moved you all from your little house in the suburbs to a condo in the city, a place where you had no family or friends and no memories of Albert. It was for his new job, George said, and even though it meant that the girls had to change schools and leave the lives they loved behind, you did it because it seemed like the right thing to do. George had rescued you when you were drowning in grief. Once you got to the city, things were different. George was barely ever home. His phone would ring at all hours of the night, and strange women came to the door asking for him. George just told you they must have been looking for someone else. But that wasn't all. He went on business trips to beautiful locations alone and hosted elaborate dinner parties for people you didn't know. He stopped driving the girls to soccer practice and sitting with you when the days got long. Something was not right. Then, one day, George woke up in an unusually good mood. He hadn't been in a good mood in a very long time. Hey, when I get home, let's pack up dinner and take the girls out for a boat ride, he said. The weather is beautiful. You agreed and said you'd look forward to it. Perhaps things were getting better. And then your phone rang. The number on the other end was unknown. You weren't sure what possessed you to do this, because normally you'd just let an unknown number go to voicemail. But you picked it up. It was the bank. They were calling to inform you that your account was being closed due to insufficient funds. That's impossible, you said. There must be some mistake. We never touched that account. You knew there was plenty of money in that account. Albert's life insurance policy had left you with nearly $1 million. That, coupled with the money you two had saved together, added up to a sizable fortune. And you hadn't touched a cent. Albert's family had money, and when his grandfather died, Albert got quite an inheritance. The two of you didn't live a fancy life, but that was by choice, not requirement. And you were happy with it. No, said the woman on the other end of the phone. No mistake. That account has been quite active, actually. Your husband makes withdrawals on a daily basis. Maybe you should ask him about it? George, you said. And suddenly, everything was crystal clear. George didn't have a new job. George didn't have a job at all. George wasn't going on business trips. George didn't need to move to the city, and those women who came to the door were not looking for someone else. You had been fooled. And then something else occurred to you. George was Albert's closest friend. Albert told him everything. The rest of his friends didn't know about the inheritance, but George did. George didn't fall in love with you in a moment of shared grief. George saw an opportunity and took it. You wondered if Albert's death was even as much of an accident as George had made it out to be. "Ma'am," the bank teller replied, having listened to silence for a really long time. "I'm still here," he said. Please don't close the account. I'll be right over with the deposit." Then you hung up the phone, went to your closet, and pulled out an old coffee can you kept in the very back. It was filled with cash you had socked away in case of emergencies, and this seemed like an emergency. You shoved the cash into your pocket and walked to the bank. You hoped it would be enough to buy you a little time. When you got to the bank, the woman at the register looked at you and said, "You must be Caroline. We spoke on the phone." You look upset. "Why don't you step into my office and we'll clear everything up? No one is losing their account today." The woman sat you down, then closed the office door and locked it. "Caroline," she said, "I have to tell you some things you're going to find rather disturbing. But please, whatever you do, do not raise your voice. Okay? I'm here to help you, but this has to be just between us." You nodded and she went on. "Your husband has been bleeding your account dry since the day you got married. He's also taken out a rather sizable life insurance policy on you. Did you know that? He has one for each of your girls too, and he is listed as the sole beneficiary for all four, which we thought was rather strange. It's not illegal, but it is odd. He spent the last of the money in your account a few days ago, and with the way he set up your insurance policies, he could stand to profit handsomely from one well-timed, tragic event. Do you understand what I'm telling you?" You nodded, then said quietly, almost to yourself, "The boat ride." "I think your family is in danger," the bank woman said, "and I don't think you have much time." You nodded again and asked, "What do I do?" "Take this phone number," the woman replied, handing you a card. "In the parking lot, you will find a white car with a yellow heart sticker on its rear bumper. The passenger door is open, and there is a phone in the glove box. Call that number. They'll take it from there." You started to hand the woman your money, all the money you had left in the world that fit in one old coffee can. And she said, "Keep it. You're gonna need it. The journey you're about to go on is scary, but you'll never be alone. We'll take care of this account until you're safe, and you can pay us back whenever you're ready." This was a lot for you to take in, but you knew that in just 4 hours, your daughters would be home from school, and in 6 hours, George expected you to get on that boat. So things needed to move quickly. "Look for the white car with the yellow heart," the woman said again. "Do what I told you, and do it now." So you did. You left her office, walked out into the parking lot, and there was the car, just like she said. You walked up to it casually and opened the passenger door. Once you were safely inside the car, you looked at the card. "Sorelle del Core Giallo," it read in small print. And then there was a phone number. You dialed it, and I was on the other end of the line. When I got to your house that day, you were organized. I noticed your steely resolve right away, and I knew that meant I didn't have much work to do. "It's one thing for him to try and hurt me," you said, "but he went after my children, and that I will not tolerate." You never did get on that boat. You decided that it might be nice to enjoy a cocktail with George before you left, but his didn't seem to agree with him, and that stomachache soon turned into a terrible flu. 1 dose, 2 dose, 3 dose, gone. You never let money intimidate you again. You became an investing genius almost overnight. Your girls are set for life. You got your house in the suburbs back, and in your free time, you use your knowledge to help other women who have been financially ruined by a man get back on their feet. Life is simple and good. I noticed one more thing on the day I first met you, and this was how I knew I'd see you again. Do you want to know what it was? Your carpets. You had brand new, spotless, white carpets. It takes a certain kind of person to have white carpets. And it's not the kind of person who thinks no one will ever walk into their home and make a mess. It's the kind of person who knows that people make messes all the time. But they also know that there isn't a mess in this world that they can't clean up. I was right about you. Congratulations, Caroline. You can put on your pin now. Wear it with pride. Oh, and now we can tell you our names. My name is Franny, and this organization saved me. The day I put on my pin was the best day of my life. You're one of us now. Sorelle del Core Giallo. Sisters of the Yellow Heart. Together, we will set the world free. I'm Holly.
I'm Leslie.
And
we would be dead.
Leslie.
Hey, Holly.
Hey, Fiends. We are back for part 2 of our coverage of the rise and fall of the world's most infamous poison, Aqua Tofana, and the women who brought it out of the shadows and into ladies' bedchambers all over Rome.
Yay.
I know. You know, I used to think it was so strange that for a very long time, upper-class married couples had totally separate bedrooms and bathrooms. We've talked about this a bunch of times, like, I'm in the ladies' bedchamber. The master's bedchamber is down the hall. And I always thought that was weird. But you know what? Like, now that I'm a married woman of a certain age, I can kind of see the benefits of having my own room. Like a place where I can put on all my weird potions and face creams and, like, cry. Or have heated imaginary conversations with everyone who has ever wronged me.
Right. Have a good night's sleep.
Yeah. You know, sing along to ridiculous songs and do all of that in solitude the way God intended.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't really sound so bad, does it? No, see?
It's very common now, too. A lot of people are doing it.
I think I need a boudoir.
And I think it's still mostly the upper class.
I bet it is. I bet it is.
They have so many rooms.
They do. I mean, like, why can't you just have one? I guess I have this room, but like, this is our room for recording.
Yeah.
I want a boudoir where I can cry and put on makeup. Nobody needs to see that anyway. I should just emerge from my chambers looking fresh and vindicated. But no, I'm left to stare silently at my reflection, which always leaves me a little tense and wrinkled. You know how being tense makes like crow's feet in the corner of your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like scrunching your face with worry.
Yeah.
Which we're both demonstrating right now and nobody can see. It was really cute though. But there is one miracle product that we can apply silently and still emerge from our shared bathrooms ready to take on the world.
Ooh.
Yeah. You know what that is?
No.
A lovely little bottle of...
Oh, right. Validation, a hill worth dying on.
I love that, like, you didn't know, but then you knew.
I knew.
You knew it in your heart.
You led me right to it.
Thank God. And you're not going to believe this, Leslie, but our fiends can give us this priceless ingredient and totally free of charge.
I don't believe it. How?
But how, you must be asking yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you. Simply head on over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and or a friendly review. It really is the only way to move this podcast forward. Ratings and reviews equal attention, attention equals support, and support equals more and better content for all of you.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all positive.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't wait for more We Would Be Dead in your life, well, don't worry, you don't have to. We can't be making people wait.
No.
Rude.
Terrible.
If you don't want to wait, you can support us over on Patreon. There, for just a few dollars a month, you will gain access to our entire catalog of 30-minute horror movies, special minisodes, our weekly after show, Host Mortem, which is available in both video and audio formats.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to see our faces. Maybe you don't. Both are okay. But you're missing out if you don't see our faces because they're pretty fun.
Yeah.
You'll also get a special gift in the mail from us, giveaways, merch deals, an on-air toast dedicated just to you, and more. In all honesty, we are here thanks to our patrons. So come on over and be part of the We Would Be Dead family.
I love it.
Me too.
I'm going to go join.
You are already part of it.
That's right. Well, I'm going to cancel and rejoin today.
Okay, just for the fun of doing it. Sounds good to me. And if all of that is a little too much for you, you can simply follow us on social media. We are at Would Be Dead Pod anywhere and everywhere you get your content. You can like our posts, share our posts, like and share our posts, leave us a comment, post about your favorite episode. Let us know when you're listening. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell the friend you would trust with your spiritual grandmother's secret poison recipe. What's their name? Christy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good friend.
Yeah.
Then your friends and Christy, who we can trust with all of our secrets, so that's good, can become fiends and we can all hang out together.
I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice time. I can't wait. Cool. I think that's all I have in the way of announcements for this week. Leslie, do you have anything to add before we begin?
No.
Great. All right, then. On with the show. So last week, we told you about Tofania Diademo, the original creator of Aqua Tofana, and her apprentice, Giulia Mangiardi, the girl who would go on to become history's sole mistress of the legendary poison, Giulia Tofana. Giulia's story is amazing. That was a good one, right?
That was really good.
Yeah. But it was the story of her stepdaughter, Gironima Spana, that really captured my attention. And this week, we'll be sharing it with all of you. Now, we don't know precisely how Gironima's story began, but we know that it ended at the end of a rope at the Campo de' Fiori in Rome on July 5th, 1659. And in some books, 1660.
Sounds so epic.
It was pretty epic.
Yeah.
I will say that. And the year is so bizarre because she is not Gironima. The arrests for this case begin in 1659, but they seem to begin either like right before the turning of a new year or right after it. And books did not know how to handle that. So it's either 1659 or 1660. I say a little bit of both just so you guys know it could be either. The Campo dei Fiori is still there, by the way. Its name means field of flowers because back in the Middle Ages, that's what it was. But with the world developing at a furious rate, it soon became a city center where you can still find a palace and a large marketplace. So this is still in Rome. It's still the center of the city. And as time went on, it became the location of all of the public executions. We've talked about how executions were entertainment back then.
Yeah.
So they had to be in a place where like you would go to see such a thing, right in the center of town.
Exactly. Where everybody was hanging out at the courtyard.
Everybody was. And now they have like beautiful farmers markets there.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the 1600s, they were burning people at the stake there. They actually did that there. It's one of the few places they actually did burn people.
Yeah. I mean, times change.
They do change. And Geronimo was lucky in this regard because hers was one of the few executions at the Campo de' Fiori that did not include burning. Probably because she wasn't Jewish or a heretic. They really hated Jewish people there. Like a lot.
Yeah.
Geronimo was a businesswoman, despite what the legends around her will say. And you know there was no witchery going on if the papal authorities did not charge her with that at the time. She was also not remorseful once she got caught. And she never claimed ignorance or pointed the finger elsewhere to try and save her own life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Badass.
A lot of integrity.
Yeah. I mean, you got to stand by what you do.
Yeah, and she sure did. In its own time, the Spana Prosecution, as it came to be known, was a crime of the century style event. It was the biggest of all news. Everybody talked about it. Everyone with an outlet to do so wrote about it, and everyone else just eagerly listened to anything they could hear about it. So while this has been lost to time, we assume that it was like quiet when things like that happened. It was not quiet at all. It was huge.
It was on every podcast in the 1600s.
It was. They just yelled it to each other from across the street. And they were like, this is going to catch on one day. People are going to do this. Perfect. But though everyone seemed to be speaking about it, there was just one problem with all of this retelling. There was absolutely no way to fact-check this story whatsoever, because this event was tried by papal authorities. And as such, they had the liberty to seal any and all documents relating to this trial, including any admissions of guilt, interrogations, confessions, judgments, and interviews. So everything anyone said, not available. And that's just what they did. They locked it all up to prevent any negative influence on other women.
Yeah. Well, you got to protect your own, you know?
Yeah. They locked the door and threw away the key, to jump back to last week's metaphors. For 200 years, those documents lay completely untouched, and Gironima faded into obscurity. Those files did not resurface again until 1880. But by that point, the books had already been written, and Aqua Tofana was long gone. Thanks to some dedicated historians and modern authors, we know a lot more of her truth now. And I rely on two main sources. They will be linked in the show notes if you guys want to read more. There is way more to read. So, when we left off, Giulia Tofana had passed away peacefully in her bed. High five to her, man. She lived the dream, went to bed. That was all.
Oh, that's how I hope I go.
Me too. And Gironima was left to run the business. But that was Giulia's side of the story. And from everything documented on just her, that is the most cohesive version of the truth. But in the interest of full and complete disclosure, we'll start Gironima's story from her beginning. Gironima Spana is listed in several different ways in several different books. Her name isn't always spelled the same, ever, which is very strange. Sometimes you will see her called Gironima Spana. Sometimes she's called Gironima Spara. I know.
All of these sound so beautiful coming from you.
Don't they? Gironima, that one is harder to say. In more sensational, older texts, she may only be referred to as la astrologa, la profetessa, and la indovina.
La profetesta?
Profetessa.
Like a professor?
No. That means the astrologer, the prophetess, and the fortune teller.
Okay.
Prophetessa.
Yeah, I gotcha.
The other one would be profesora, I believe.
Okay.
So if Spanish is doing me right now. However, she did sign her own name as Gironima Spana on her confession.
She's like, hey guys,
this is how it's spelled. Why is it different everywhere else? So we're just going to call her that because it's right.
Yeah.
So we do not know when Gironima was born exactly, and we know nothing about her birth mother. We do know her father was a man named Niccolo Spano, because they masculine, feminine last names back then. And in Giulia's stories, it is almost always said that Giulia and Niccolo met when she fled from Palermo to Rome. But in accounts centered around Gironima, so when they're focusing on telling her story, it is said that Giulia and Niccolo met in Palermo. Then Gironima and Giulia fled the city together.
Okay.
So I'll get back to this in 1 second. Niccolo was, quote, provisioning Spanish galleys and overseeing expenditures of Palermo's Ospedale degli Spagnoli, which is the Spanish hospital.
Okay.
And that is a lot of big words for just the fact that he was like an accountant for the hospital, basically.
Well, they got to make it sound more exciting.
And they really did, and make it way harder for me to read. So that's good. And the accounts that are about Gironima also include the fact that Niccolo passed away while they still lived in Palermo.
Okay.
So this would leave Giulia and Gironima together, still with Tofana, right? Now it's a trio of women together. And then Giulia and Gironima fled to Rome together, just the two of them.
Right.
So there are two versions of the story. I cannot tell you which one is true.
Damn it.
Yeah. When centered around Gironima, that is how we talk about it. These differences are small, but I feel it's important to note that they do change in a wholesale manner when shifting focus. I don't know why. I think the more accurate one is Gironima's side of the story because there's more documents to back it up, but that's an opinion and you're allowed to form your own however you want.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. These two stories do, however, converge in Rome at some point between 1630 and 1640. There, Giulia remarried Cesare Ranchetti, the gambling real estate tycoon, and Gironima, at just 14, married Niccolo Ciauzi, the grain man.
Oh, right.
Remember the grain man?
Yeah.
Incidentally, grain speculation has a lot more to do with estimating future markets and turning a profit than it does, actually touching grains. He wasn't like graining around.
Right.
So he was more of an investor than anything else, which does explain how easy it was for him to get himself into massive debt. God, if you married like anybody with investor on the end back then, you were just fucked.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I feel like that can still be true.
Probably can. Yeah, you're not wrong. And he did leave Gironima by 1640, and then he fled Rome altogether in 1655. So this is another really funny fact. They got married, and they stayed married for they never divorced. He just isn't listed as living at the same house as her, 3 years after they got married.
Right.
She just was like, well, now I live here by myself. That's all.
Well, that's cool because now she doesn't have to get married again.
It did work out very well for her. I will say that.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, he was a real peach, but he did her a favor by leaving.
Yeah.
And Gironima did not care. She didn't care. She was like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Her marriage had been one of necessity, not love, but it did give her the opportunity to access enough money to start her own business.
Nice.
Yep. She had studied astrology when she was younger under her mother's brother, Andrea Lorestino. So we can surmise that her mother was something Lorestina. But that's all we have. It's the only thing we know about her. I suppose if you wanted to do a deeper dive, you might be able to find out her name. But I did not have the time. So maybe another day. Now, using the skills she had, which was astrology at this point in time, Gironima set up a shop as an astrologer. And as such, she also sold herbal remedies, tonics, and potions. This was not abnormal for someone who was an astrologer at that time. You would also be like, well, we can give you this remedy for that.
Right.
All part of the thing.
Very holistic, very healing.
Yeah. All part of the fortune teller vibe back then.
Lots of crystals.
Totally. And not against the church.
Right.
Which now they'd be like, what are you, you weird heathen? But back then, it was just in addition to religion that you had this, which is a very important distinction to make because you would think that someone like that raised religious red flags immediately.
No,
but they didn't.
Yeah. I feel like even now they're still incorporating that. So for instance, if you go to those sound baths, that's something that monks use and other religions use. So a lot of times you're welcomed there. And so there's a lot of people joining in that all have different beliefs.
Yeah.
But they all kind of come together as we're all seeing maybe to them, they all come together because they're we're all seeing the same God maybe, but we're all coming at it from a different angle because we're all from different areas.
Well, I like that a lot better than this. This is actually just the Catholics of the time being like, well, you still believe in our God, right? And they were like, yeah, for sure. We're just talking about what the stars might say or giving them a beauty treatment. And they're like, cool, we're all friends. It's fine. But I do like your version a lot. That's nice.
Yeah. But that's why it can work with the Catholic faith because then you can, if it's all still with the same God, but you're just looking at it from different areas. Yeah.
There you go.
That's how you get away with it.
And she did. Gironima was very good at her job. And I don't mean the telling the future through the stars. I mean gently advising rich women for a tidy sum of money. You know how when you see people hiring psychics in movies, it's usually rich Beverly Hills type wives. That's the 1650s version of this.
Yeah.
Gironima knew that money comes from money. And she would never be able to create the life she wanted for herself if she stayed in a hut in the back of a village like her stepmother had done in the past. So she made her situation bougie. And Rome was definitely the place to do that. Leslie, as a very elegant lady baby myself, I am considering relocating like Gironima. But I just can't decide if it's the place for me. Perhaps you could tell me a little more about the Eternal City. And remember, it's the mid-1600s right now, of course.
Right. Yes, of course. Of course.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So, are you feeling like a new start?
Yes.
Have you lived in the same place your whole life? If you have a moment, I'd love to share with you why Rome, Italy might be the right move for you, Holly.
Oh, please tell me.
For starters, everyone is coming here. You may have heard of little cities like Florence and Siena gaining some traction after the Black Death plagued our country. And this is true. Many people have moved to Florence and Siena to start new and rebuild their cities. But listen, it got old. So now everyone's coming to Rome. Why? Well, because it's the best place. We got history, we got music, we got art, we got delicious cuisine, we got the Catholic Church. That's right, the motherfucking Pope lives here.
Oh my God, sign me up.
Yep. The rumors are true. Protestants tried to take over, but listen, we Catholics are back and better than ever. We are spicing up the city, one painting and sculpture at a time.
I heard there are dicks in some of them. Is that true?
Yes. Have you ever heard of a guy named Michelangelo?
Kind of.
Just see the David yet?
There are dicks.
Lots of dicks. But of course you've heard of Michelangelo. Come to the city, visit the Sistine Chapel, and see for yourself why he's our national treasure. Right up there with Dave Grohl. And the Pope, of course.
And the Pope, of course.
The art scene in Rome is booming. The Catholic Church had a wild idea to work with the artists and architects in our city to help revive everyone's faith. And these artists hit it out of the park.
Nice.
Have you heard of Baroque? Well, once you get here, you're going to be living in it.
Oh, shoot.
Paintings, buildings, music, sculptures are dripping in Baroque styles. It's dramatic, it's bizarre, it's over-decorated, but it's taken the country by storm, and you will be living in the city that started it all.
Maybe I am into Baroque.
Yeah. Have you ever been to an opera? You can go every day if you live in Rome.
Oh, good.
We have this new composer named Bach. He's excellent and a must-see in concert.
Oh my God, awesome. I can't wait.
Heck, you might even see him playing on the streets. That
on
happens
the street?
here. Yes.
He's just out there?
He's just out there.
Shit, I gotta go.
You never know who you're going to meet in Rome.
Boy.
And the food, oh my God. Some of these young chefs are coming up with incredible new recipes. Have you heard of the potato or red peppers?
No.
They're delicious.
What?
Not just pasta anymore.
All I eat is grain.
Yeah.
The grain man told me that's all I needed.
And it might be, but potatoes too.
Yes.
Some Romans are now even using something called a fork to eat with.
What is this craziness?
It's really neat. Apparently, the rich have been using it since the Byzantine era, but now it's everywhere.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I was just eating things with my fist.
Are you someone who likes to attend events and festivals?
Sometimes.
Well, we have loads of those.
What?
Enjoy a weekend of jousting, horse races, and even bullfights.
Ooh.
These events are great and bring all the locals out in the square for a good time, right where you can see it hanging.
Oh, I love a bloody sport.
If you're worried about inclusion, don't be.
Okay.
Rome is one of the most inclusive cities in Italy.
Is it?
It is,
Okay.
especially for practicing Catholics.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're dirt poor or as rich as the Pope, king, you'll fit right in.
The King Pope.
Yeah, the King Pope. The streets of Rome are filled with people all over the economic spectrum. It really makes it a great place to network. Who knows? Your broke ass might run into someone with money and you'll fall in love and hopefully your family can pay your dowry or else they go bankrupt. But then the magistrate can marry you and you can have a beautiful wedding and you'll no longer be poor and it's just like amazing.
Oh my God, maybe you can live in a palace.
Mm-hmm. If being a woman in Rome concerns you, it shouldn't. Here, you're allowed to have and express your own ideas and opinions. That might not take you too far, but at least you have the freedom to do so. Women from any household can aspire to live a better life. The goal, as you know, is always marriage. But as you have more freedom to roam around, pun intended, you may have a chance to marry up. And we do hope you find love in Rome and bear many males. Women are just too expensive to have.
No more of those, please.
Yeah. Rome literally has everything you could ever want. So if you're someone looking to start fresh and to be inspired by everyone and everything around you, then come to Rome and live as the Romans do.
I think I'm gonna now.
Yeah, it's a great place.
I'm gonna Baroque it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see Bach in the street.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I will not see an opera every day. That's too much.
But you could.
I could.
Is what I'm saying.
You know,
you
the fact that the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
It does make all the difference. And all of these fine things were not lost on Gironima. Giulia may have been known as like kind of ratty and an old witch in a hut. That was not the vibe for the younger generation.
Mm-hmm. Never is.
No, it's not. Gironima was like, look around. This is not it. This is not it. Look at you.
Yeah. That's like us looking at like Gen Zers now. Like, what are you doing? We worked so hard to get bougie.
I know. This ain't it. Come on. Ugh. But Gironima did it upright. She dressed in fine clothing and surrounded herself with beautiful things and culture and art, all of which were acquired from clients as gifts.
Yeah.
Mostly.
That's how you do it, though.
It is. Gironima was smart and charismatic, and she made friends quickly. And if you ask me, this may have been her most valuable skill. She was people liked her very quickly, and they trusted her very quickly.
Okay.
The women she advised didn't really need their fortunes told. These are like rich, pampered women. But what they did need was a friend. They needed a person to comfort their fears and assure them that despite their challenges, they were in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and everything was all going to be wonderful in the end.
I need one of those.
Yeah, me too. That would be great. Hire yourself a psychic. For enough money, they will tell you that.
Right.
It's totally fine. Gironima also frequently traveled by borrowed carriage.
Ooh, girl.
Yeah, if you were traveling in a carriage back then, that was a mark of like, you were somebody.
Right. Yeah.
And she was held in esteem by all the people of Rome because of all of these things, all of these appearances. Was she actually rich? No. No, she was not. But that didn't matter. She was perceived rich, and this earned her a place at their tables.
Love it.
Yeah. So she basically opened her own door to society in Rome.
And this was something definitely of that era because everybody was mixed up in Rome now and they were all congregating together, it was a little bit more accessible for even some of the poor women to like meet some of the richer women and then maybe get some things, even if it was like hand-me-downs or something, but in good quality. So they were starting to live, like they were starting to be able to achieve like some better aspects of life, and even if they didn't have the money for it.
Well, I expect it's also easier to integrate into a city where like there are too many wealthy families and families in general for people to immediately know who you are based on who you come from. So you really could reinvent yourself there, like you said. And Gironima didn't have any family. There were no checks and balances there. She came with Giulia. That was it. She had an old lady in the hut who she was like, I swear to God, she's good. I swear. And people were like, oh, right, she'll sell me poison. So I do like her. And everything was fine. Now, we might think that money can buy happiness, but it can't, and it never really could. Although I would love to test that theory for myself.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future I'll be able to.
Okay.
Gironima's clients, while outwardly charming and happy, carried sadness and desperation deep down inside, the root of which was always, always, always their marriages. We talked about this before. So these women might be rich and given every convenience in the world, but they were most often in marriages that they never wanted to enter in the first place.
Right.
Sometimes it was to men who had raped them as children. So while they didn't really want for things, their life certainly wasn't what they would have planned for themselves. And so Gironima joined forces with her stepmother, Giulia. So she's like, I'm seeing that my clients, these rich ladies that drive me around in carriages, are also very uncontent with their marriages. So maybe I can kind of employ my stepmother's business in my own.
I like it.
And it'll go well. And she was right. So she began selling a mysterious new product on her shelves. Yes. Now for Giulia, it was enough to keep Aqua Tofana like an unnamed substance that people would ask for or she would offer, and she would just give them the little bottle and be like, here's your secret thing. Don't tell anybody. All done. But Gironima was too smart for that. She knew that in order to keep things safe for herself and for her clients, this liquid had to masquerade as something else. And with a little help from the church, she rebranded and called it Mana di San Nicolo, or St. Nicholas oil.
I love it.
Yes.
Sounds so nice.
Santa Claus, St. Nicholas.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So they weren't calling it Aqua Tofana at that point in time. and they started putting it in marked bottles. That's where the difference here occurs.
Mm-hmm.
It was always cosmetics, but it was like just a plain bottle before,
I wonder if, because I know there wasn't like Santa yet, but I wonder if she still chose Saint Nick because he was like a gift giver.
Oh, no, she did. I'll get there.
Okay.
And well, actually, the choice wasn't hers to make. It was what was popular in that place at the time.
I got you.
So if you're like me and don't have the faintest idea what saint oil is, don't worry, I found out and I'm going to tell you. You might know. I did not know. And yes, you can still buy some online, which seems reliable. I mean, you can also buy it in like church gift shops because old churches have gift shops.
Right.
But you can also order it on Amazon.
Yeah, we'll link it.
Yeah, we won't. But you can look for it. It's there. So saint oil is a liquid that seems to generate spontaneously and flow over a relic of a Catholic saint. Now, a relic, if you don't remember, is a body part. It could be a mummified finger. It could be a bone. It could be all the bones.
Right.
Who knows? Any part works. So it's kind of gross when you get down to it, but this substance was very popular among the devout, and it still is. The claim for this is that the oil was a kind of cure-all. So if I am understanding this right, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, mana is what made a saint able to saint or perform miracles. And apparently this mana was located in their bones. So this liquid, which spontaneously sprung into being, that would flow over them. And really, it was just naturally occurring water because these places are all underground and in the side of mountains. So that kind of shit happens. Anyway, this liquid that passed over them was said to capture a little bit of this magic mana essence. So no matter what you needed, whether it be good health or clear skin, saint oil could give it to you.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
I think so.
I don't know if you're as familiar with it as others, but that's, to my understanding, that's what it is.
I mean, they don't really talk about it now because that seems like snake oil kind of talk now.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you can still buy it.
They didn't really like condone that when I was in school. But we did talk about it.
Yeah, so apparently, like most of these places, most of these relics are located like on an old stone wall or something, and water just comes through a crack because it's a lot of the cities are coastal and stuff like that. It just happens. And this water kind of like washes over them and then they collect it in a little vessel underneath. So
I wonder, I've never been to Italy, so anybody that has, or to Rome, I wonder if they collect this while they're
apparently
there.
you still can get it.
Okay, I would think so.
Yeah. Now, not all saints have a saint oil. So they don't all have a relic that has spontaneous water flowing over it.
Well, that sucks.
It does. I mean, I would be really sad if I went all through that effort to be a saint and nobody could sell my mana.
I know.
No good. But St. Nicholas is actually rather famous for it. His bones are said to be located in the Basilica St. Nicola in Bari.
Okay.
And there is a trickle of water that flows over them. And you can still get it in their gift shop. And St. Nicholas did have some pretty good miracles, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
You guys remember the ham babies?
Yeah, they were great. Delicious.
If you don't, I'm going to give you a real brief synopsis of what is my favorite story that we've ever told, probably. So in our Santa Claus episode, we talked all about St. Nicholas. So if you want to find out about his whole life, go back and listen to that one. The title is Believe. I don't remember the episode number. I'll put it somewhere this week.
It's around Christmas time, though.
It is. It's 2 years ago Christmas. That's when it is. But St. Nicholas's best miracle was that during his time, there was an extreme famine in Italy. And he was walking through the town, as he did.
Right.
Where people had resorted to desperate measures. And the local butcher had resorted to killing children and selling them as meat. And he had taken 3 young children, 3 babies, and killed them, then put them in a barrel full of salt and was trying to pass them off as like ham, as salted meat. But St. Nicholas was like, absolutely not. He walked into that butcher shop. He saw the barrel full of ham babies. He was like, get the fuck out of here, butcher. And he brought them back to life.
Amazing.
He took salty, leathery, dried out skin and made it baby soft.
Yeah. But I bet those kids grew up to be very salty.
I bet they did. But you can see how bringing salted ham babies back from the dead is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And we all want to take our salty faces and make them baby smooth again, so bring on the Santa oil.
Yes.
In addition to the fact, as you mentioned, he is like the patron saint of children, youthfulness, giving gifts. I mean, like his miracles and sainthood really do lend themselves to a product you would want.
Right. Also, I would say that, okay, so clean water is extremely cleansing.
Okay.
So for instance, even if you were to just shower and just rinse your body off without soap, you're still cleaning yourself.
Okay.
So I would think that this saint oil, if it is like clean coming from these mountains.
It's supposed to be like spring almost.
So if you're putting that on your face, it's probably like affecting your pH levels. It's probably doing wonderful work. And if you have like any blemishes or cuts on your skin, you're just putting clean water on.
Yeah, my assumption is that it's either some sort of spring water or it's seawater, which would be like astringent, which would be salty and might dry out your greasy face.
Yeah. So yeah, it's probably working because
and because they so strongly believed that it would.
Right.
Which also helps. Either way, bring the Santa Claus oil on. And the church heard the public's cries and was happy to oblige. For a cost, of course. So the church is peddling it. So this water was bottled up, and I'm not sure why they felt the need to call it oil. It most certainly was not oil. It was and continues to be water. I couldn't tell you why. But it did sell like wildfire back then. And Rome, being a major Italian city, which was not that far from Bari, saw its fair share of the stuff come into its borders. So if you're going to get a saint oil in Rome, it's going to be St. Nicholas. That's the closest one they had, and he had the most of the stuff going around. So
I wonder if it's because it wasn't something, it wasn't something that they drank necessarily, right?
No, they didn't drink it. They just put it on their faces.
Yeah, so maybe just the terminology for it, like if it was like a serum or a mist or something that just felt better. And if it's like pouring out of a saint.
Yeah.
It's like,
and to my knowledge, they didn't drink it.
Happens to be.
Maybe they did drink it sometimes.
Yeah, just such clean oil.
I guess that it's very thin. I don't know, but it is water. So bottles of this stuff were kind of popping up all over the city. If you didn't buy it from the church, you could probably buy it from some dude on the corner. But there wasn't really any way to tell which water had saint bone bits in it and which just came from a well down the street. So there were some imitations about.
As always.
Yeah. Now, to know you had gotten the real thing, you would just look for a bottle with an intricately painted image of St. Nicholas on it. These are like really beautiful. And we'll put a couple pictures in this week's photo suite. There are some old ones and there are some ones that are not that old. And the label stayed the same. And you would also look for a trusted source, aka a connection to the church in some way. So if the retailer you're visiting is connected to a priest or maybe is a priest sometimes, then you feel that you can trust you're getting the real deal as opposed to something someone scooped out of a gutter and put in a plain little bottle.
Right.
So now remember how I told you priests were also the source of another fast-selling ingredient that rhymes with schmarschnick? Yeah. Well, Gironima found herself a priest who didn't want to sell love potions, and he didn't need to exchange items for arsenic. He wanted in on the whole operation. So he was like, I don't want to just help you. I want to be part of this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he knew exactly how to make it work.
Okay.
Now, this is where her name gets confused because his name is Father Girolamo, which is what they call her, but with an A at the end. Right. And I think because they confuse their stories, of Saint Agnese, which is a brand new church in Rome at the time. And it just so happened that this priest had a brother who worked in the apothecary.
Okay.
Yes. So Father Girolamo knew exactly what saint oil was supposed to look like. He could easily get arsenic. And he provided a reliability in cases when women were like, I don't know if I can trust this situation. He would go with them and be like, everything is going to be okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if a priest is telling you it's okay, you're golden.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was his part in this situation. He did not In some sources, they say he sold it himself. But that's not what I'm gathering from it. What I'm gathering is that he got a cut because he provided not just ingredients, but also he would, like I said, go on these calls and just make them look very legitimate.
Okay.
And also I'm sure that his face was somehow involved in the St. Nicholas oil part. Like, yeah, see, we got a priest. It's all good. But I think this is all very interesting. And some accounts also say that he was Gironima's lover. And I like those accounts and choose to believe them all. I like this. He did also get a cut of the profits, obviously, but he was risking his reputation and his life, in my mind, for love.
Yes, I like it.
Me too.
I mean, priests just didn't make money, so this was the only way he could have anything. Probably.
And they weren't allowed to be in love. So this was secret.
I know.
I like to choose to believe that the man in this situation was just kind of hopelessly in love and all the women were very much in power.
Right. Yeah.
So
he was just like some sexy looking priest.
He was definitely, in my version, he's definitely hot. He's definitely like Fleabag hot priest.
Yeah.
Don't try and find any paintings of him. You will be disappointed. Just keep my version of it in your mind. It's much better. But it is a fact, and he is in the, all the statements from back then that he did these things.
Right.
So I don't know why a priest would do that just for money. I think it had to be something else, too.
Interesting.
So, exactly. Potential. So with production of this very easily disguised in any home oil of St. Nicholas, because remember, it's all over the shelves everywhere. So if you have this bottle of St. Nicholas oil, it does not raise a single red flag to anybody. It's normal. You might have 2 or 3. The demand from the wives of Rome grew higher and higher. And so Gironima realized that her team needed to grow. Business is expanding. They need to hire new people.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Gironima went out into the city and did what she did best. She called her friends.
Love it. Which you can make if you move to Rome.
You can. Women of all shapes and sizes and, you know, financial means.
You're just going to meet new people, make new friends. It's going to be great.
It is going to be great.
New city, new you.
Totally. And these were women who she had perhaps sold the poison to in the past. There is no confirmation of this, but it is strongly indicated that, as I used in the opening, the way you can gain entrance to that is that you know because you've used it. So
makes sense.
Totally. Or in some cases, they were said to be women that she had just provided years and years of counseling to, although from what I can see, they were usually one and the same. She returned with Giovanna de Grandis, Maria Spinola, Graziosa Farina, and Laura Crisbaldi. These women were to be her sales team. They were to take the poison, go out into the city, and sell it. Or they would go to preordained meetings that Gironima had set up with the poison, speak to these women, and make the exchange. It was all done in a very organized but underground fashion. And Gironima herself at this point only sold directly to select clients. So you had to be a really top-of-the-line client probably to meet with her. She's the big boss. And she produced all of the poison. So she would make the liquid, then the priest would help her bottle the liquid by getting all of the saint stuff correct. And then
they got
busy.
Busy in the kitchen.
Absolutely. Then her team of
I'm
women.
Just seeing a montage happening.
So good, right? See? Then her team of women besties would take all of this and go out and find other women who need it and sell it.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is so good. I'm seeing such a visual.
I fucking love it. See why I've been sitting on this story forever? Because I'm I want to do stuff with it. Okay. So now these women were the face of the company, just like we said about Francesca in our previous episode. So this was always the model. You always had your creator and then your salespeople. So now she was killing it. And it is at this point that I choose to remind you guys that Giulia was what I called the intention, but Gironima was a businesswoman. Giulia died in 1651, and Gironima took over the whole operation. And she did not screen her clients. As far as chic was concerned, the wealthier the woman, the better. And she did continue to sell her great cure exclusively to women who wanted to use it on their husbands, but she didn't really care why.
Right, which is definitely the downfall.
Exactly. Basically, when you get greedy, things go bad.
Yeah. It would have been better if, like, they had to come to her for therapy first, basically.
Exactly.
And then after some time when everybody was in trust mode.
Just like Giulia, who her clientele came to her for help. And on an individual basis, she sold them an unidentifiable bottle of liquid, sent them on their way. She wasn't mass producing things.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Which is very different. And plus, you can't keep track of all of those women at once.
Yeah, it's a lot at once.
Yeah. Gironima did, however, continue to give Aqua Tofana to women in desperate situations who could not pay for it for free. She did uphold that one tenet. Her stepmother had been a great woman, and she kept that. She said that until her very last day. And she deserved to keep the legacy she had earned. Gironima did not, look for women in trouble, and she didn't give it to everybody. But if a woman in trouble found her, she would help her out. So there was that. By 1658 or 1659, depending on the book you read, Gironima's business was running like a well-saint-oiled machine. Bottles of Mana di San Nicolo were everywhere. Some of them had mildly disgusting water inside and others had deadly poison. But they were manufactured to look so similar that the only way to tell them apart, should you find yourself with one of each, was to try them, which I would not have advised. But we all know there is no way this could go on forever. With 5 saleswomen and another astrologer in Spain purchasing in bulk from Gironima.
Oh, boy.
Because she networked and found another woman who was basically the Spanish version of her. And she was like, listen, if you want to expand your business, this is what you want. And she was like, yeah, I do. So she was looking to start moving to other providers too. This was a major business. Gironima had created an empire.
Pharmaceutical company, if you will.
Yeah. And empires tend to fall.
Yeah.
The problem with building... Rome would know. Wasn't built in a day, had a hard time falling.
Yeah.
So, the problem with building an empire around a closely guarded secret is that eventually too many people know. And it's not really a secret anymore. And the odds of them all staying quiet is non-existent. They're not going to. Gironima, who had no children of her own, much like her mentors, had taken one of her friends under her wing. She had chosen Giovanna de Grandis. She thought she would be the next in line, and so she taught her how to make the Aqua Tofana. That's kind of how they had to pass it on. Only 2 people ever knew at a time. I don't think she did the best job choosing, but whatever.
I still, I have to laugh because I know that we're basically, if I guess scholars can make their assumption of what Aqua Tofana was.
Yes.
Their best guess is that it's just arsenic and water.
Arsenic, lead, water, and belladonna.
Oh, right. Okay. So there's a couple more ingredients because I just kept thinking it's just arsenic and water. And then every time somebody finds out the recipe, they're like, that's it?
No, exactly. What? Why is that it? No.
Okay, but there is a couple other things.
It started out as just arsenic and water. Giulia added more things to it to make it seem more like she was making cosmetics.
Right. Okay.
So, but they've now advanced. Yeah. Fuck. Are you kidding me? It's one thing. I could just get my own hot priest and be done with it. Fine. Whatever. But now Giovanna knows how to make the poison. And Giovanna was not as careful as Giulia and Gironima had been. Sure, she had a name that started with a G, but it turns out that wasn't the most important quality for a poison-making apprentice to have.
Damn it.
Weird, right? Hundreds, if not thousands of men had succumbed to a mysterious flu that left no contagion behind. And rumors of the beauty tonic that made women widows were flying all over the city. Talk was loud enough that it reached papal authorities, who began to look for the source of this tonic. Several names were circulating, and the widows of Rome were being rounded up and interrogated. Too many people know. Eventually, the papal authorities got a break in their case. Remember the woman with the soup from the last episode?
I sure do.
Well, I did tell you she was real, and I wasn't lying. But it didn't go the way the stories would have us believe. This woman, who was quite wealthy, I should add, did buy Aqua Tofana, And she did plan on giving it to her husband, but at the last minute, she backed out discreetly, opting to dump it out rather than to poison him. No dramatic soup slapping. But she didn't get all of it out, just most of it. Mm-hmm. But she was terribly guilt-ridden and went to her priest to confess. The priest had her say all of the Catholic prayers of immunity or whatever they are, and then sent her on her way. But as soon as she had cleared the doors, he immediately called the police.
And he can't do that.
Yeah, but he did. I know. He immediately called the cops and told them that a woman had confessed to attempted murder with a poison she had obtained from Giovanna de Grandis.
And then they hanged that priest.
No.
As they said, you need to keep quiet, sir.
That's the nature of confession. You can't fucking tell anyone.
Yeah.
No. They said, thank you so much, priest. They probably were like, here's $1 billion or whatever. A kiss on the head from the Pope.
That's worth so much more.
Way more. Papal authorities, as it turned out, had tried to arrest Giovanna before this time. So apparently she has like an arrest record. Like she's not very stealth. And she's been caught like 3 times with samples on her. She's like, this is just fate's tonic. I don't know what you're talking about. And then they were like, well, we don't have enough proof. But if we just keep giving her enough rope, she'll end up hanging herself, basically. And she did.
This is the problem with hiring new people.
I know.
It's so hard when you want to branch out.
So hard to trust people. So the papal authorities already had their eye on Giovanna. Now they had someone firsthand confess to getting poison from her. So what did they do? They set up a sting operation.
Okay.
They hired a woman from Florence to pose as a wealthy wife seeking to obtain Aqua Tofana to do away with her terrible husband. They arranged the meeting between Giovanna and this wealthy woman. And when Giovanna showed up, there was this woman in beautiful clothes, you know, just as she had purported herself to be. And so Giovanna thought the deal was good, pulled the bottle of liquid out of her bag, and the second it was visible, authorities sprang out from behind the curtains and took it from her.
I'm like picturing like the Roman soldiers like popping out and like those like little outfits of theirs.
It'd be great if that's what it was.
Yeah.
Not so much, but it would be fun.
Well, what would they have been wearing?
Just whatever normal. They're casual togas, I suppose.
I know. I was like, it's still togas, I guess.
I don't know. It's the 1600s.
Yeah.
Probably not. But they then gave what was in this bottle to a stray dog and several cats, and they all died. Part of the story is that the woman who talked to the priest also turned over what was left of hers, or they found it. This is how it all gets muddy, and that they did the same thing with that. So they gave both of these liquids to stray animals, and all of the animals died. And that was all the proof they needed. They're like, well, you're selling poison, obviously. So we're arresting you.
Oh, this would have been so great if she had like another bottle that didn't have the poison in it. Or like if Gironima knew what was happening and that she like fucked up hiring this other girl to like take over for her. So she switched the bottles. Yeah. And then afterwards, like nothing happened to the cats or dogs. And then, what was it, Giovanna?
Mm-hmm.
And then she comes in and she's just like, I don't know what happened. And she's like, I do. She's like, lucky for you, I'm the brains of this operation. Get out of here.
Get out of here, you
done.
bitch. You burnt.
Go to Florence.
That's right. Get out of here. You really thought that rich lady was real? Do better next time.
And then she visits Tofana's grave and it's just
weeps.
Like, just like, I'm sorry, Giulia.
Do you see how much potential this story has to be very dramatic?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're on the same page now. All right, good. Cool. So now the authorities have all the proof they need. They arrest Giovanna and imprison her at the Tor di Nonna, which is a famous prison. And it's famous because of its use of torture.
Yeah.
They tortured so many people so much of the time.
You got to have a thing.
But yeah, and that was theirs. And she didn't really last too long before immediately naming Gironima. She told her captors that Gironima ran this business and she made the poison. She told them she knew how to make it and here was what was in it. She also told them all the women that worked with her selling the poison. She gave them the name of a bunch of her clients. She did not shut up. Yeah, once she started talking, she did not stop. Wrong lady to trust. So papal authorities were like, shit, this is a lot. And they started rounding everyone up. But here's the thing. They did not treat them all the same. Maria, Graziosa, and Lara were brought to the prison, along with 40 other women who were suspected of using the poison and perhaps distributing it as well. These women were beaten with a strap to encourage their confessions. And these were the wives of Rome who did not come from wealthy families or marry wealthy men. Yeah. That's who the papal authorities chose to shine a light on.
Of course.
Because they had the names of all of them. Upper-class women were simply interviewed in their homes and granted immunity in exchange for their confessions. And extremely well-to-do women, say the wives of nobility, because Giovanna did confess to providing the poison that killed a duke, or, say the heads of powerful families, those women were all left out of questioning completely. They just didn't touch them at all. Even though they had been named, called out by name numerous times as clients. Totally ignored those people. The papal authorities considered the women who made the poison to be guilty of murder, but not those who bought and used it. And this is key to me, because the narrative they're trying to push is that the many were just influenced by the few.
Sure.
Most women are just like innocent little cupcakes, and they believe these horrible, sick witches. And once we get rid of them, everything's going to be fine.
I mean, I partially am okay with that.
Well, I mean, yeah.
If there is something, like when a drug dealer gives you like shitty drugs.
Yeah.
And then you take them and give them to somebody else to smoke with you, or I know that that's not the same thing, but like it shouldn't be on those people as much as it should be on the person that made it.
I suppose.
And supplied it.
But that's the other thing. They simply sold them the bottle. They didn't make them use it. They didn't watch them use it. And some women had it and really never did use it. They just kept it as a reminder that if they needed to, they could.
Yeah.
So once the bottle left the people who made it, left their hands, they had no responsibility. They didn't know what became of it.
Sure. But I do find that appropriate.
Okay. I guess the link in the chain that I don't understand is that these are women that they could prove killed their husbands with it. Like they used it and they were like, you're not guilty. It's them because they made it. And you clearly didn't know what you were doing. And they were like, yes.
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't have killed their husbands otherwise.
Yeah, never. Who would ever kill their husband?
Well, they might not have been able to. That's why they got this. They were just stuck in their situations before these women came along and helped them.
Exactly, which is why they're the bad ones, I guess. I mean, it's all the same thing. It's just interesting to me that they really didn't choose to focus on the act of murder. They chose to focus on the act of, production.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would think that it would all be the same.
It wasn't. That's the part that I was kind of interested in.
But I do still, if they're going to go that route, then I agree with.
Yeah. Of the literal hundreds of women that were named in this and that were investigated by the papal authorities, 2 clients were hanged. 2.
And you know what, though? I feel like Giulia and Gironima would probably, or at least Giulia would be like, good.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be hanged.
No, of course. I mean, but then again, this is where this gets murky because Giulia vetted her clients and Gironima didn't.
Right.
So we don't know who was getting it. We don't know.
Also, Gironima, the people that she didn't really vet were the ones that sold her out.
Probably
the rich people.
Yeah, for sure.
And they were the ones that got off anyway. So she probably would have felt horrible if if the lower class women were killed.
It's all so morally blurry.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I find it so very interesting. So anyway, Gironima herself was eventually brought in on February 2nd. This all started in January. She was brought in February. But she would not say a fucking word.
Because she's a boss-ass bitch.
That's right. Well, that's not true. She said lots of words, but none of them were a confession. She was like, I'll talk all you want. Do you want me to tell you about my family? Here's who I'm related to.
I wish they wrote it all down.
I know, me too. I grew up in a coastal town. It was very nice. Authorities also immediately, this is in documents, could tell she was different. They describe her as confident, intelligent, well-spoken, and self-assured. So you know she has to go.
Right.
She denied any involvement in any poisoning for months, even in the face of direct evidence presented against her. They were like, but we have that you did this. And she was like, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
Sorry. She wouldn't even confess to a priest, which is how they got a lot of those women. Like I mentioned earlier, dirty priests were telling on them. So they'd be sent to prison, and then the papal authorities would be like, well, you have an opportunity to confess to a priest if you'd like. And they would tell the priest, and then they'd be done. Again, the priest is definitely not supposed to tell on them, so he's not great in this situation either, but I guess whatever. Gironima held out for as long as she did, though, because she knew something that the others didn't. Much like in the days of the Salem witch trials, which is the same years.
True.
A person could not be sentenced to execution unless they confessed to their crime. You could be imprisoned, you could be held, but unless you confess, like that's why interrogations or like, what is the word I'm thinking of? Inquisitions were such a thing then, because you had to make the person confess. A confession was key. Gironima was like, you can hold me all you want. I'll tell you about my dad. I'll tell you about my uncle, the astronomer, and all my nice dresses, and my clients who are all people I just advised, and they're very nice. But eventually they switched to stronger tactics, I think. So, the famous torture prison crackdown. It took 6 months to finally crack her. And while there is no documentation of it, I think whatever they did must have been pretty extreme. But when Gironima finally did confess, she did that in a big way too. On June 20th, 1660, and in some books, 1659, she signed a long and detailed statement of guilt, all about her own guilt and her own activities. And it ended with this phrase, quote, "I've given this liquid to more people than I've got hairs on my head." I fucking love her.
That's so good.
Yeah. She did it, and she was not sorry. On July 5th, 1660, Gironima Spana, Giovanna de Grandis, Maria Spinola Graziosa Farina, and Laura Crispaldi were all hanged at the Campo dei Fiori in front of a crowd of onlookers. Several of the less wealthy wives of Rome were also hanged, but most of them were flogged in the streets and banished. And a few little more wealthy wives were put under house arrest. And all of the others who had money or influence were given immunity. After the trial, the Pope himself gave the order that the documents regarding the trial should be sealed at the Castle Sant'Angelo, a building that is part mausoleum, part fortress, and part castle for the Pope. Popes need a castle.
They sure do.
Today, it is a museum. The archives were not discovered again until the 1880s, when they were found in the Archivio di Stato in Rome. So these are just like the state archives, which they eventually were like, what is this? Officially, the Pope said he sealed these documents to keep the formula for the poison a secret and protect the women of Rome from this horrible affair's bad influence. But unofficially, I think he sealed the documents so that the future wives of Rome would never know this story. Without knowing this story, they would never know their own potential. For if they did, they might become powerful and terrifying. Just like Gironima. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should all tell it.
We should. Yeah.
And that is the story.
Is that Pope Alexander?
I don't know. I didn't look him up. Possible.
Yes.
Was he a shitty Pope? Do we hate that one?
He was super hot.
Oh my God.
He was born Pietro Vito Adobani.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love when you become Pope. They're like, you get a new name.
Yeah. Alexander the 8th.
We gave you a used one.
They're all, yeah, they pick it. They pick their name, who they want to be after. A lot of times it's after like another saint or like maybe a previous Pope that they liked. But yeah.
Got it.
That's why there's a lot of Pauls.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Don't we have an interesting one now?
Well, we had Francis.
No, that's not it.
And then, what's the one that we have now? Benedict.
Yeah, that's a better one. That's not like John or Paul. It's not a beetle.
I think that's Benedict the 16th.
Oh, so there were enough of those. Never mind.
A lot of them.
Yeah, quite a few of those about.
Just one at a time.
Yeah, but there were a lot.
There were. But the other thing I was thinking of was I would love the authorities to have, I don't know, maybe looked at these wives that killed their husbands and just been like, yeah, they were shitty. We're not gonna.
That would be awesome.
We're just gonna like slap you a few times.
I know.
And then
We
That's
get it.
it. But
It's
we get it.
fine.
We get it.
I really wanted the hot
I
priest
wouldn't want to marry me.
No, God. I really wanted the hot priest to come in and like do some helping in the end.
Oh, for sure.
That would be great. But like, that's not what he did. He just was like, I did nothing.
Yeah.
and they didn't name him anywhere. And
if he was like
fine.
the priest that they confessed to and he was just like, no, they confessed to everything but that. Like, I don't think they did this, guys.
No, they're not.
I think you just beat out a false confession.
Yeah, they are not guilty.
You should let them go.
And I'm going to tell the Pope.
Yeah.
On you.
I know Alex.
We are friends because we are both hot and Catholic.
Yeah.
So, sucks to be you guys. Yeah, that would have been great. There are so many great ways to end this story that are not this. But unfortunately, they all had to die. And with that, so did disappear Aqua Tofana. But the funny thing is that I don't really know that Aqua Tofana ever did disappear. Because for centuries afterwards, it is still mentioned periodically in fictional documents. In fact, Mozart claimed that is how he died.
Oh.
He was like dying and he's like, my wife gave me Aqua Tofana or some shit. There's a ridiculous story about him saying it. But yeah, it's like nuts. It was very pervasive.
This could be a true crime tale then.
Yeah, could be. Even though Mozart had like a lot of problems.
Yeah. But if he thinks he was killed, we can cover his case now.
We can. That's true.
I don't know why.
He was also very dramatic. So.
That sounds perfect for us.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, like, it's not like the poison ever fell out of, it never went away entirely.
Right.
The story of how it came to be, how it fell apart, and what was done with it was totally put in a blender as time went on.
Yeah.
But like, for all we know, women continued to use it.
Yeah.
It's always possible. In the end, too many people knew about it. Too many people knew what to do with it. A lot of them probably still had it.
I mean, that's the thing. People ruin everything.
They do ruin everything. The best part of this, too, is that, like, you needed something like 7 or 8 drops of it in total. And they sold you a big-ass bottle, which means to me that, like, there was leftovers everywhere.
Right.
They didn't also round up all of the St. Nicholas oil. They didn't do that.
Well, I guess it would depend on what the dilution was because it would have to matter how much they were putting in.
This bottle was concentrate because that's what you would put in their tea.
Oh.
For whatever reason, they were selling you way more of it than you needed to use.
Well, that's also bad business.
It is bad business. Or bottle making was in its infancy. And you just couldn't get a smaller bottle. Or they had to because that's the size bottle you bought the actual oil in.
Maybe. Yeah.
So they couldn't really shrink it down and sell you less. That would like be a red flag.
Yeah.
I don't know, but every picture I've seen of this is way, way bigger than what you would need.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because I do wonder, I mean, we don't have the actual directions to it. So when I was looking up,
we don't.
The poisons last week for the beauty cosmetics, it does, like, you have to dilute it so much in water for like arsenic or the belladonna that even in that bottle, even if you just pulled out like a drop, I wonder if that would have been too sickening. So maybe you had to like do a couple more like dupes of it. We call them dupes in the warehouse.
Got it.
Little dupes.
Okay.
Just needs a dupe.
There you go.
When it just needs a couple drops. Just a dupe.
I like it.
With the pipette.
Cute.
But yeah, maybe you needed like a few more. I don't know.
This
just probably had to be so much water to dilute it down so that somebody wasn't just like convulsing right away.
But if you're making a big batch of it and you're filling up bottles, you don't have to put water directly in the bottle.
Sure.
But this just always leaves me to wonder, was there another part of the story? Was there a to be continued? Because there's no way they destroyed all the actual substance. There were women that bought it and didn't use it.
Yeah.
There were women that bought it, used some of it, and then had the rest. Where is it? What happened to it? They didn't all spontaneously flush it.
I don't know, Holly. I guess maybe if we needed it, we'd find out.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You might think it's gone, but it could still be here.
Underground.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Toast?
Toast. All right. I know she was kind of a conniving businesswoman, but I have to toast Gironima Spana because I fucking love her. I think she's so smart.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel like maybe her plan was correct. She just fucked up in trusting the one wrong person.
I also think she was too big. I think she should have kept it smaller.
Yeah.
Maybe Giulia's model was too small, but her model was too big.
Yeah.
You have to be able to keep, including the priest, excellent idea.
Yeah.
Excellent idea. Disguising it as the saint oil, excellent idea.
Okay.
Involving all those other women, less excellent. And not vetting your clients well, also not excellent.
Yeah.
Because if you're not selling this to women who are very, very loyal to you, what's stopping them from telling people?
Right.
They could easily be like, I was so confused. I didn't know it would kill him. And then she gave it to me.
Yeah.
And
that seems to be what they did.
Kind of, yeah. Except they're like, I'm so sorry, priest. I almost killed my husband with this bottle of poison I got from Giovanna, but then I didn't. And the priest was like, can you spell her name slowly?
Yeah. It's just for God. He's asking.
Yeah, God loves a good spelling. Make sure you get it right.
Yeah.
Lord. So to Gironima. Who else would we like to toast?
The hot priest.
Yes, hot priest. In my version, he's great. In the other version, he's like not. He's whatever.
Yeah.
But in my mind.
Right. And then to the original Tofana?
Yes, to Giulia and Tofana. So, yeah, you see what I mean? Like, this is a chain that would not exist without all of them. But they all had their own occupation.
Right.
They all did their own part in it.
Yeah, I like this. It's great.
Yeah. I hope I told it in an understandable way. And I didn't get too excited.
You got so excited, and it was great.
Thank you so very much.
We do have one more person to toast.
Tell me who it is.
Lindsay Jones.
Lindsay Jones.
Thank you for becoming a best fiend.
Love you, Lindsay Jones. Ooh.
She had a good one.
She got a really good ding. That was great.
Somebody got their angel's wings.
I think they did. And if we were unlucky enough to put our trust in the wrong G, we would be dead.
Thank you for listening to the We Would Be Dead podcast. Hit subscribe now to never miss an episode. Rate and review our show on iTunes. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Would Be Dead Pod. And join our Facebook group to discuss the podcast and more.
There are dicks.
Lots of dicks.